So I'm going to unveil my Halloween boots. You guys saw me cutting the Kilties. Here's the boot. Probably not too surprised, I gave some spoilers. This is my customization with the orange Kiltie. Technically it's called a Carrot. It's a Wickett and Craig English Bridle. And then the previous owner, I bought these off eBay, and the previous owner had these installed. I'll get a little closer to the camera. I don't know what they are, but they honestly have a green look to them. I don't know if the coloring is going to show up well on the camera, but it could be that they're just like chromed leather, like natural, or not natural, but undyed. I think that might be what these are, but they kind of have a slight greenish hue, and I just feel like the black, the orange, and the green, you know, kind of has like the Halloween vibe. Here's the other boot. If you don't recognize this, this is just, well, you know what? This isn't a normal Prospector. It's slightly different. So you saw my other, I need to do a longer video on it, but that quick video I did on my 1964 rough out brown Prospectors, but they normally come with what they call a cut top. This isn't a cut top. You can see this is a standard top where it's it has that inner, I don't know, extra layer of leather with the double stitching. Kind of adds rigidity, but if you look at the standard, well, I guess they might still have a standard configuration on the site. I know they took down the quick ship, which is what my brown rough out was. Just the like classic config, I think. I'm trying to remember, they have a classic config lug sole, and that's different, possibly, but I think the top's still the same. Anyway, this is a Prospector, slightly different top. This is from 2021. Which boot has the date stamp? Okay, 11E. I got real lucky that these popped up. Yeah, that's 7/21. Hopefully this is focusing. I was talking to Big Stetson. I think his real name is Nick. He's not, the joke is he's the Nick of Nick's Boots, but it's not. He thinks it's probably max support, or I don't know if they were calling it that at the time, but just sort of the thicker oil tan Seidel. Well, they're both Seidel, but I know like they didn't always call it max support, but this is probably max support rough out. Black, obviously, but can't know for sure. The thickness of them, the rough out, or sorry, the max support and the 1964 are both the same ounce. So, and looking at the thickness, it looks basically the same as my 1964 brown rough out. So yeah, I don't know for sure. Oddly enough, and I'll have to do a comparison video another time, these are like smaller. They're 11E, both of them say 11E. These run a little bit narrower than my new production quick ship Prospectors. They're like snugger. They still fit. They're just a little bit tighter in the arch, or the ball. It's like a little bit, you can actually visually see it, but you can feel it. They also, and I'll throw up some photos I took of doing my typical sticking my phone inside the shoe, in the boot. This has the McKay stitch, which they stopped doing, and I actually agree with them discontinuing it. It doesn't like hurt my feet or bother me, but I can feel it when I'm walking around. You're standing on the stitching. One of them, if you look inside, the stitching isn't like centered properly on both of them, but one of them is a lot worse. So this is weird though. So check out this heel. I'll have to post a photo comparing these, but this heel sticks out quite a bit more than my modern 67 Dogger modern heels. And then it doesn't have that issue with quabog is basically getting ground in too much. It would appear they were leaving more of a ledge before, and that allowed the heel to not have a problem, and then they've pulled it in more. I think kind of, I can see why they're doing it. The newer style, it looks a little bit kind of cleaner and tighter, but then it has issues with the heel. I think, I don't know, it's almost like they could have both options, where if you really want that steep angle, which I prefer, and I know some other people did with that Reddit post we read, if you're on the Knicks, if you ever follow the Knicks Reddit, but I don't know. it's just interesting to see it. And then something else, this minor, I've never figured this out. This one has the V-bar that has the yellow right here, Vibram logo. I don't know why they have one or the other. My 2023 production rough out brown 1964 Prospectors have a black V-bar, black logo, Vibram logo. So just kind of interesting seeing some differences from production a couple years ago versus today. They've obviously modified things a little bit. I mean, otherwise it's typical Nicks. These were in pretty good shape. They didn't wear them that much, I could tell, because like if you look at the soles, the threads are only barely worn. And then the heel, there wasn't a lot of heel wear on it. Just a little bit there. The other boot, I think has a slightly bit more, but you could tell this guy didn't wear these a lot. There's certainly something going on here. I don't know if they did a spill. I definitely saw some wet, like drop marks here, and I kind of scrubbed them with a wet paper towel and then let it dry and kind of brushed it, and it's kind of gotten to go away, but there's sort of like a weird shininess there. Could just be they cleaned off something, I don't know. But these are pretty cool. I'm obviously a big fan of the Prospector, and I had this idea, so I had to kind of jump on it. Halloween boots. Try to figure out what to pair them with, because I don't, this is my first pair of black boots I've ever owned, honestly, and it doesn't have the same, they don't look as good with denim as a brown boot or a tan boot does. So it's a little bit harder to make it, I don't know, kind of style it, I guess. But I have some tan pants and actually like kind of a gum brown pair of 505s I just bought the other day off Amazon. And I was thinking those might kind of look cool, because I remember seeing a photo that Truman did on their, I think they were relaunching or something, a black wax flesh. And in the photos, the guy like wearing them was wearing like a gum brown kind of pants, trousers or something. They look kind of cool. So I'll try that out. But unfortunately, though, I don't think the black looks as good with denim as brown or tan. But yeah, I'm excited about these. I've worn them a couple days. Truthfully, I only wore them I didn't wear them out anywhere. So I need to go out so people can see the orange. These came with them, the black Kilties. I don't know if you can tell. Actually, you know, these would probably be possibly split. I don't know. I'm curious if there's a visual cue to be able to know if something's max support or not. And then I've heard, I actually saw something recently, when I got them, you can actually see it a lot right here on the rubber. You see how like white and kind of cloudy that is? Someone called it blooming. I've heard that term for chocolate when it gets cloudy. It had some of that same, I guess, blooming, if that's the term, around the front and like basically just the front of the V-bar. I went with my kind of typical Venetian shoe cream and kind of moisturized the entire conditioned, the leather and the rubber, kind of gets the oils in there, and it seems to have darkened it up. You don't see it as much. I don't care with the bottom, obviously, you're gonna wear it, but it kind of looked weird with some of the white coloring on the front. There is one area that didn't really go away. I don't know if this is more chemical damage or something from something the guy kicked or stepped in, but the tip still is there. I don't care though, it looks fine now. It was really white all around the whole front of both boots, and it seems like the Venetian shoe cream helped. There's some kind of interesting, if you take a look at this leather, kind of has interesting matting and stuff. The rough out black, never had it before. I've only had rough out. My 1964 brown I mentioned, and then also my really old Red Wing Iron Rangers. Otherwise, it's pretty consistent. I think it's possible this heel is a little bit better aligned as far as being more of a walking heel, but I need to look at it more closely. It's definitely not as pronounced as my leather-soled Prospector. That one really has that steep walking heel, which makes heel strike a lot nicer. But like I've said, that I don't have a problem with the Prospector as it comes. It's I don't know how to describe it without having that walking heel angle. Every time your heel strike from walking, instead of it being kind of a roll every time like that, it's more of like a clump because the heel is totally flat. It's not the biggest deal, but it's just weird because whites doesn't do that. Like the C350 cruisers, I actually just sold them. Those had a lower moderate heel and they still did an angle. You could really see how they built up the angle of the heel. It's more of like this instead of being straight. It's kind of that way, and then it caused the heel to be more of a walking heel. And then what's kind of neat, you know, just probably because they're used and have been sitting around, especially if the rubber bloomed a little bit, is the eyelets actually were clearly brass, but they've almost started to become real antiqued. If you look closely at that, they have some oxidation and some patina already going on them. That's pretty neat. I guess I don't get my nicks filthy enough because all of mine are really still shiny brass, even my pair from almost a year ago. But then that's the other thing too. These are 2 years old. My oldest nicks are from last November, I think. My Dublin, natural Dublin Prospectors. Big fan, by the way, of the single piece backstay. My 1964 brown rough out Prospectors was my first nicks with the single piece backstay. This is my second, and definitely doing this again. I have an MTO that I did back in May. It's the Built Right. I'll throw a photo up from their site, but it's the Built Right. It kind of looks like a Prospector because it basically is on a Built Right half sole, but it's like an MTO, so you can do whatever last or anything you want. But I kind of did virtually exactly what they have on the site photo, with the difference being I'm a dogger heel guy. I just love that look, so I did the dogger on my MTO, whereas the site photos show a logger heel. And interestingly enough, speaking of that, so I learned something. I wish I brought my other boot up here. I'll again post a picture of it in the video, but I've learned, and I got sort of confirmation from some posts by, I think it's Jamin's his name, one of the cobblers. They don't compensate with heel stacks based off the outsole you do. So the V-bar and the 430 have quite of a thick sole, and I did a 269 Western on one of my MTOs, the Wickett and Craig milled buck brown, which is like half the thickness from about here on back, and they didn't compensate, so I did a moderate heel like I like. So it's basically one more layer of leather thinner than a normal moderate, so it's like uber moderate, which is still fine. I still like it, but if I had known that, I may have potentially, I don't know, done a classic heel on that build, because it would have been lower than a normal classic. But what it made me realize is if you look at the half sole boots where you don't have anything going through back here because the outsole stops right about here, it's like think of that's like at least 2 layers of leather thick right there that would be gone because the rubber doesn't go through the heel, and because they don't compensate for that, the half sole boot is like I don't know if you call it a stack, but 2 layers of leather and the stack shorter than a normal, or one shorter than probably a 269. But yeah, so anyway, kind of on a total tangent here. The main concern would be with that build, it will be like drastically shorter. So that would be like a super moderate heel, and I thought about that more and actually saw a photo of another boot that made me think about it too, and basically I ended up changing my MTO. I emailed them the other day to a classic, because I feel like a classic heel stack, which to me is generally too high, with 2 layers less, it will be probably like kind of like a semi-moderate, which would be cool. I've kind of come to the conclusion, looking at tons of photos of nicks on their site and on eBay and just everywhere, it seems like, and maybe nicks, if somebody watches this, like Jamin or Big Stetson or what's his name, Lucas Grassberger, I almost think with nicks, moderate means 3 layers of leather. It's like they've maybe pre-built these or something. 3 classic means 5 layers of leather, so there's 2 more 2 more layers in the stack. And I think what I've noticed is the Packer boots have 6 layers. And I don't think it means, I was kind of like, oh, so the Packer has the highest heel. I don't know if it does, because I think the pad, the Packer heel pad or top lift is thinner than the Quabog, and that probably makes the difference. So it's probably the same height as a Classic. It just has to have 1 more layer of leather to compensate for the thinner top lift. What I wonder about, though, is you look at Frank's, and sometimes Nick's done it. I've seen some. There's a, what's his name, the Dutch boot guy or something. I subscribe to his channel. He has some videos on some Nicks he bought. He's out in Europe, obviously, and he was complaining because one of his Nicks has the V-bar, and it actually has the V-bar heel cap or top lift. And I have a pair of Frank's that has that, but I've never seen a pair of Nicks with the V-bar top lift. So I don't know what makes them use Quabog versus that. He actually said he'd rather have Quabog. I'm not sure if one wears differently or what, but those seem thicker. And then obviously, like, you know, what is it? The lug ones are thicker. So like I'm talking about this thickness right here. This is the top lift. You don't know what I'm talking about. But those have obviously a thicker sole with the lugs, so that kind of compensates. But yeah, there's a lot. It seems like there's quite a few variables going into these heel stacks. So these are my Halloween boots. Depending on when I edit this video, I might put together a clip of me or photos wearing them with those gum-colored pants to kind of see how that works, or I'll just drop a short or something. But I wore them with I'll throw some photos in the video somewhere, but I wore them with some denim the other day, and kind of, I don't know, look kind of weird. But definitely rolling this for the rest of October. And then after that, I'll probably put these back in and go back to just monochrome with black. Or I might cut Kilties out of that other piece of Wickett and Craig English tan bridle from Buckle Guy. It's not quite as orange as my actual Nick's English tan bridle, but it's a nice color. And then I actually had a curiosity, because I was ordering that waxy buffalo belt from Nick's. I ordered some brown rough out Kilties 1964, because you saw my video. Mine didn't come with rough out, they came with smooth, and then it's a split, so it's thinner. It doesn't seem like the rough side will ever look like that boot looks like, so I didn't want to flip them. So I'm curious what I'm going to get. They come this week. But I kind of like the contrast, you know, this with the black Kiltie is just going to be super monotone. And then I'm not sure about black with the greenish, bluish laces, but I got to see what it looks like. But I don't think I'll roll orange all year. I think I'll put them away and then pull them back out next October. My kids thought it was kind of funny that I did this whole Halloween boot thing, but I think it looks pretty cool. It's fun. Definitely have to wear them on Halloween day for certain, but I'm going to try to wear them a bit the rest of this month, just because it's the color. But it's tough being that I don't really like the way black boots work with my wardrobe, I guess. But I gotta figure it out. Let me do one more setup here for you guys. Let's see if I can balance that. But yeah, you should get yourself some Prospectors. I think they're one of Nick's coolest builds. Later.